And it's just stupid. We're not children. Let's stop playing this game. He understands exactly what I meant. He understands I'm not anti-Semitic. He gets all of that. But look, bottom line is, I think with a guy like Vaush, he's a YouTube master. So he does like the whole kayfabe thing and like, I'm the one voice of reason on the left and I will set everybody straight. And that's his whole shtick. And hey, he's welcome to do that shtick. But let's not get it twisted about like, if the statement was too far, if the statement was anti-Semitic, that's nonsense. He knows exactly what I meant. And I said what I meant, and I would say it again, and I'm right, and everybody knows it.
Yeah, so I want to talk a little bit about the Houthis' recent controversy. I figured we could just play a couple seconds of a recent video of yours just so I don't misquote you, and then I want to get into the response to that and your response to the response. But yeah, this is what you said about the Houthis.
Look, I'm going to say this is straightforward and as simply as possible, and this will be controversial, but it's true, which is why I'm going to say it. The Houthis are correct. The Houthis are right. In fact, you can argue they are the ones who are trying to uphold international law here. When they say, oh, you're going to do a genocide and nobody's going to do anything to try to stop it, well, let's do the bare minimum that we can and try to block trade with you. What happened as a result of that? Okay, the insurance rates for the ships in Israel went up. Sometimes they have to take a different, much longer route to get to Israel. Oh, man, the horror, how terrible. But the U.S. would rather protect trade to Israel than protect Palestinian babies who are being bombed on the regular.
Yeah, based as fuck, man. That's a beautiful man right there.
Some people took issue with your comments, specifically Vaush. Zach and I responded to his video. He basically said that your commentary, in addition to other streamers like Hassan, for example, they basically said it amounted to like America bad kind of logic where, you know, your whole commentary just boils down to anything that's against America and our foreign policy is therefore good. And Vaush even went so far as to imply that this was an anti-Semitic position.
We're not doing this on Israel's behalf. That's a borderline anti-Semitic talking point. Like, that's just fully like the Jews have like deceived the U.S. into, like, that's just not, they're threatening international maritime trade. Also, Operation Prosperity Guardian isn't just an American effort. It's literally an internationally led effort. There's a UN condemnation that happened right before we began firing. Like, it's not just America, you know?
I was just wondering how you respond to that charge and kind of this increasingly prevalent logic that like real leftist foreign policy, in the sense that we don't agree that America should be the world police, like somehow that's all of a sudden become America bad.
Yeah, I mean, look, to be fair, I think there are some people who fall down that rabbit hole where it literally does just amount to like America bad. That's not me. In fact, of course, I've taken heat for my position on Ukraine. When I say something like Russia illegally and offensively invading Ukraine is wrong and shouldn't happen, and it's a war crime, and Putin's a war criminal. You know, when I say something like that, it should be very clear to people that I don't have this this position which is just America bad in all instances. In fact, in that instance, I even supported initially some defensive weapons going to Ukraine so they can defend themselves. So that would be an instance of America through, you know, whatever pathway ended up maybe accidentally being on the correct side of an issue. And I'm willing to say that when that's the case. But look, I mean, I have to be honest. Of course, when you say something which sounds as controversial as the Houthis are correct, like, you have to expect some incoming fire over that. So I have no problem with having incoming fire over that. But look, the point is actually very simple. I'm sure that this is being interpreted as like, you know, a defense of the Houthis in general and writ large. And the fact of the matter is, that's not the case. They're a Shia Islamist group. Of course, domestically, they're a menace. In the same way that, like, Hamas, for example, yeah, they don't have a good position on gay rights. They want an Islamic caliphate to be a Palestinian state. I would like a Palestinian state that is not an Islamic caliphate, right? So, like, all those things matter, and we can point out those nuanced differences. But the main point, which is inescapably true, is that the Houthis stepped in and said, we see that Israel is carpet bombing innocent people in Gaza. They've killed 12,000 children and 28,000 innocent civilians. Our response to that is going to try to be to block ships that are doing trade with Israel. Now, maybe they haven't done it perfectly, and sometimes they get the wrong ships, and sometimes they use force when they shouldn't, etc. All that's fair. But that core thing of let's stop these ships from getting to Israel to try to put economic pressure on them to stop them from carpet bombing babies, that is the point. That is absolutely the correct thing. And what I go on to say in that video is, this is what the U.S. should be doing. If we actually cared about human rights, if we were actually against war crimes, this is what the UN should be doing. Step number one for Joe Biden is cut off the money to Israel. Step number two is cut off the weapons to Israel. Step number 3 is allow a UN condemnation through of Israel to let them know we are united and we're against you and you have to stop doing this. And then step number 4 is sanction the motherfuckers, blockade them, put economic pressure on them. I don't want to do regime change in Israel and send in SEAL Team 6 to put a bullet in between Netanyahu's eyes. That goes too far. I'm against regime change across the board. But this is an issue where economic pressure, you bet your ass I'm going to support economic pressure. And I don't give a fuck that it happens to be a Shia Islamic group that for whatever accidental reason ended up on the correct side of this. It's true, right? In the same, when I give America credit for something, does anybody say, oh, you're defending the terrorist state that did an illegal and offensive invasion of Iraq and did torture at Guantanamo Bay and did torture at Abu Ghraib and did all these war crimes? How dare you defend the terrorists? Nobody does that because they understand the nuance of it. That sometimes America does fucked up things. Sometimes they do good things. Everybody accepts the nuance on this front. But you're not allowed to be nuanced about the big bad guys like the Houthis or any other group like that. You have to say, across the board in every scenario, I condemn them. I'm against them. Ah! And it's just fucking stupid. We're not children. Let's stop playing this game. He understands exactly what I meant. He understands I'm not anti-Semitic. He gets all of that. But look, bottom line is, I think with a guy like Vaush, he's a YouTube master. So he does, he does like the whole kayfabe thing and like, I'm the one voice of reason on the left, and I will set everybody straight. And that's his whole shtick. And hey, he's welcome to do that shtick. But let's not get it twisted about like if the statement was too far, if the statement was anti-Semitic. That's nonsense. He knows exactly what I meant, and I said what I meant, and I would say it again, and I'm right, and everybody knows it.
That is so important to say, right? That America does fucked up shit all the time, and we all know it, and we all accept it, right? But when some other country amorphously does the correct thing, we'll have to find like an invalidating factor about them and be like, oh, how are you supporting terrorism? It's absolutely ridiculous. One kind of side question in regards to, obviously we're seeing untold horrors in real time when it comes to what's happening in Gaza for the first time. It's pretty unavoidable, I would say. Like, I don't ever like to go and look at pictures of dead babies or like somebody pulling a dead child out from under the rubble or a miraculous almost dead child that has to go get like very painful fucking surgery with no anesthesia. Like, all these horrible things. I don't like seeing that shit. I don't think anybody likes seeing it, but it's everywhere, right? TikToks of it all. Like, it's broadcast to the entire world. And I can only believe that that's reaching people, right? And that the tides are turning. I've seen more and more regular people say, oh, we should call for a ceasefire. Like, we should stop this massive injustice, right? Very few people saying that they believe this is a good thing. However, the most recent general election polling came out with Donald Trump at 44%, Joe Biden at 33%, RFK at 18%, and then Weston Stein, 3% and 2% respectively, right? And that's neither here nor there. That might be like off polling, but what's crazy to me is that outside of the 5% held by Weston Stein, all of those people are rabid, deranged supporters of Israel. And clearly the American people are not putting it at the forefront of their minds when they're thinking electorally. How do we change that in the next 11 months or 10 months before the general election?
Jeez, man. I mean, there is one group of people that really, really fucking cares about this, and it's young people. And actually, no, I'm wrong. There's two groups of people. It's Arab and Muslim American voters, and it's young people. And Biden has fallen off of a fucking cliff with those groups. There was one poll where Biden was losing by 4 points to Trump when it comes to young people. And he was at about 60% support with Muslim Americans and Arab Americans, and that plummeted down to 17% support. There's literally a campaign to be like, never vote for Joe Biden in the Muslim and Arab community that I talked about on my show. So
17% support in Detroit right now with a Muslim American.
That's what I'm saying. So look, the pressure is being applied properly, and people are really raising a stink about this, rightfully so. And there's protests outside the White House all the time over this issue. So I think what needs to be done is exactly what's being done to effectively look. Joe Biden will flip his position as soon as he genuinely believes, no, this really is my political ass on the line. Right now, he doesn't actually believe it's his political ass on the line. He thinks, no, come November, this will be in the rearview mirror. People won't even think about it. They'll remember the horrors of Trump and they'll vote for me. And so I'll get through. But if it can get through to him on some level, if these protests and this campaign is persistent enough, then no, motherfucker, you are going to lose if you don't do something and stop this. Then I think it's possible that he does actually change the policy to one extent or another. I don't think he'd actually do anything that's sufficient in terms of something we would like as a final solution for it, but in terms of like slightly nudging him in the right direction. So I think that basically everything's being done that can be done to try to change the trajectory of that. Now, outside of those groups of people, yeah, I mean, the inescapable sad conclusion is that like people don't fucking care about foreign policy. There's an issue where, you know, young people do, Arab Americans and Muslim Americans do for this conflict, but clearly it's really not on the forefront of people's minds. And I don't know how to change that other than to just expose the horrors and say, like, you should care about this, right? But I don't know, American voters, I've always held the position that I think the voters are, in general, pretty reasonable when you get down to the issues, and it's the politicians that are the problem. But yeah, in some ways you want to revise that and say, if I can't get you to give a about this, then like, what the like, what are we up against here? How can I get you to care about anything if you don't care about this?